Your expected approach time 3-4, approach button 17, the altimeter 2997.
Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm your host, Prickly Hedgehog, and as always, I do hope this video finds you well. Today, we dive into another newsletter from the Eagle Dynamics team, which features some work being done on an aircraft that we haven't really heard much of recently. It's the KA-50 Black Shark, which is currently in version 2 of its development, but is actually being upgraded, as some of you will know, to the Black Shark 3 variant, which will feature some upgraded systems and improved exterior textures and features. The team revealed today some very complex work to do with revamping the INS system, which will now feature error accumulation as follows. The INS, or Inertial Navigation System as it's known, is based on dead reckoning by a double integration of aircraft accelerations that are measured by the accelerometers located on a gyro-stabilized platform. The fundamental property of the INS is the accumulation of coordinate measurement errors over time. Platform alignment errors and the accelerometer errors are also integrated twice. With the use of INS mathematical models, we have achieved a realistic error accumulation effect, as well as a physical alignment of the gyro-stabilized platform when the helicopter is started. As a result, the INS-derived location can only be determined with limited accuracy. The error in the calculation of coordinates accumulates at the rate of several kilometers per hour, and when starting the INS, it will be necessary that the helicopter remain stationary throughout the alignment procedure. Otherwise, a less accurate alignment will lead to an accelerated accumulation of errors. 3 different alignment options will be available. Fast, which allows you to take off rapidly, but it provides a low accuracy during the flight. Normal, and precise, which provide better accuracy with greater alignment times. When using INS for long flights, correction, fix, taking points will be available. Prominent reference points on the ground with known coordinates make it possible to eliminate accumulated errors in 2 ways, by flying over the landmark or by using the SFAL tracking of the reference point located away from the route. Thus, navigation in the KA-50 will become more realistic with the simulation of INS errors that are present in real life. Now, joking aside, this does not explain, of course, how KA-52 helicopters inadvertently meandered into Ukrainian airspace during a special operation, but for us in DCS world, it will potentially mean off-piste activity while conducting long-range missions in DCS with the helicopter if you fail to track appropriate reference points. That's a complex but subtle addition to the helicopter's realism, which I am pretty impressed with. I think it's a neat feature. It is a very interesting helicopter in its own right, and behaves, of course, quite differently than many of the other helicopters because of the distinctive counter-rotor system. It's difficult to make direct comparisons with, say, the Apache in terms of pilot workload and aerodynamic performance and other features, but it is quite a different machine to fly. Remember too, it's the original full fidelity module for DCS World and has been with the franchise for many, many years, so it's good to see that it's still relevant in the game and receiving improvements to keep it in that position. I don't think we'll ever see, unfortunately, a KA-52 in the game, but that would of course be very, very exciting to see as a project. We're changing tack here. Remember that the spring sale is ongoing at this time, and a great way to pick up a module or even a campaign or 2 or both to flesh out your DCS hangars. It runs until the 22nd, the eShop version that is, and I am thinking of picking up some more campaigns. I have been enjoying the Fear the Bones campaign by Reflected Simulations at the moment, who advised recently in a YouTube post that he's been working on some neat stuff with, of course, former F-14 pilot, author, and movie maker Paco Gurici. This, of course, is not new news, but it is exciting stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that product looks like from the team there. As for the sale itself, through the e-store, we have the following modules with a 30% discount. They include the Ace 10C2 Tank Killer, the AV-8B Night Attack V-Star, or the Harrier, the Viper, the Hornet, the Thunder, the Mirage 2000, the MiG-19P Farmer, the Mi-24P Hind, the Channel Map, the Super Carrier module, and of course 25% off right now the Tomcat, just a reduced discount there, but nonetheless significant if you're looking to pick up that, maybe the Super Carrier or whatever else, maybe one of those campaigns that I previously mentioned. Now, the last portion of this week's newsletter mentioned a competition being run soon. This is known as the Buddy Spike event, which is sponsored by Eagle Dynamics. It will start on the 30th of May and run until the 12th of June. You can compete in mixed PvE or PvP matches and fight to take control of the battle space. Though it is an individual competition, pilots can work together to achieve better results. There are 4 prize categories for best pilots in air-to-air, ground roll, multi-role, and support helicopter. A prize pool of $5 grand with 4 ace prizes of $700 each is available. Prize money or ED miles is available for the top 10 pilots in each discipline. As the competition progresses, you can track your performance using the Buddy Spike gadget. You can join the Buddy Spike Discord and start planning your tactics now if you wish.
Pull up.
Now, changing tack here a little bit again, one thing that wasn't really highlighted was the pretty respectable changelog this week, which brought in a significant number of changes to a wide variety of modules and other fixes and features of the game. One highlight, of course, is the F-14 Tomcat, which many of you may have noticed, and that had an update basically to the ACLS system, which has been completely overhauled. It required an extensive number of changes to things like the glide path and glide slope, and improvements to the auto throttle system. The DCS, ACLS, and data link systems have also been added to the Forrestal for the F-18, not for the Tomcat, and they have even adjusted the azimuth for the ship as well. The Tomcat has seen some retexturing work, including the TCS pod, and you'll notice too that there are white-colored AIM-54A missiles now. These are but a few of the tweaks for the aircraft. Now, nearly all of the aircraft in-game receive fixes and improvements of some kind, including, of course, the Hornet and the Viper. And as is often the way, when I do these changelog references, the broader list is way too extensive for me to go through piece by piece. So I will refer you back to the link below where you can find more information on this changelog. It's worth a read. Now, one thing I will, though, focus on, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't discuss it, and that is news, of course, revealed this week from Growling Sidewinder and the ED team regarding the overhaul of the AI's BVR behavior. This is really interesting if you saw the video showcasing this more realistic behavior that he published. The list is also worth discussing and describes the changes made as follows. Available BVR tactics and skill of execution is highly dependent upon the AI skill level settings, so don't expect this behavior across the board automatically without some adjustment. They've added timer for missile evasion maneuvers when notching. This better allows the AI to defeat a radar operating in memory mode. The AI will use airspeed and altitude based on the skill level to optimize missile launch kinematics. It will try to be fast and high. The AI will now maximize distance between the aircraft and target at time of missile impact, based again on the skill level by using offset crank and reduced airspeed. Based on skill level, AI will appropriately use lead, pure, and lag intercept geometry. Geometry, of course, being a huge part of successful intercepts and, of course, kill opportunities as a result. AI will use a low slice in an offset crank maneuver to force an incoming missile into denser air to provide the AI more maneuverability and force hostile radar into a look-down. Now remember that look-down modes is desirable for the defensive aircraft or aircraft looking to avoid detection, since radars have trouble tracking fast-moving objects going across the ground. Based on skill level, the AI will use different defensive maneuvers such as look-down, clutter notch, and reversal and extensions. AI will randomly use the direction of offsets, cranks, and notches, so it won't be necessarily predictable. The use of chaff when the missile is 6 degrees off the nose, which will allow the AI to use chaff more effectively when a beam of threat radar. Aircraft without radar-guided missiles will no longer climb and accelerate to intercept the enemy. So that's a big improvement. Now, one note here is that the basic fighter maneuvers, or BFM, for jets improvements are planned for a June update this year, which is also good news. This is, of course, huge news from the ED team and a pleasing response to player demands for more realistic AI behavior across a range of performance envelopes and, of course, pilot tasks. As mentioned, the oft-referenced BFM behavior is set for a June update, and I know in the past ED has indicated that the AI should not see through clouds and have limited fields of view depending on orientation. It's tricky stuff, so I'm looking forward to see how they assemble changes to the AI behavior, which will of course greatly please solo players looking for a little bit more from the AI. I suspect it also bodes well for any long-term plans for the dynamic campaign process, which will demand a lot from the AI if the experience is going to provide the degrees of scalable realism solo players are looking for.
Oh, you're gonna regret this, suckers.
So really that brings us to the end of the ED internal news, but of course things are not exactly idle with regards to third-party developers pushing out amazing content. We'll start with a snippet from the Heatblur and True Grit team, who are doing some CFD work on weapons for the Eurofighter. This sparked a lot of discussion on their Facebook page as to the performance expectations, which carries different weapons that are currently available in the ED arsenal. The long and short is that we will likely have to wait and see, but data is data. And when it comes to modeling performance in game like this, it could be interesting to see how all of this is handled. There were, of course, some complaints that the weapon performance was subpar in-game across the board from the ED available weapons, which I think for most average users is somewhat of a subjective guess unless you're able to realistically compare real-world data, a lot of which is not public information for obvious reasons. I would caution jumping to conclusions. While in fairness there are and have been periodic updates to missile performance based on data gathering exercises in-game, we have to be realistic about DCS World and what it can offer within the constraints of its design and data availability as compared with real life. I've yet to have my G-suit kick in at 4G during maneuvers yet, by way of example. Jokes aside, once again, the arrival of the Eurofighter is going to be extremely exciting, regardless of any weapon envy from some members of the community. Flicking back to Growling Sidewinder, most of you will have noticed the teaser from him showcasing the F-15E, which is set for release this year by Razbam. It's going to provide an interesting extension of experiences for many of you familiar with the F-14, which is a similar large and heavy aircraft. The main difference, of course, is that the F-14 is a fighter that was able to drop bombs from a carrier, while the F-15E was a fighter which was converted to drop bombs and lost some of its fighter pedigree in the process. Still a capable plane, however, and not without lethality in the air-to-air environment, especially in BVR engagements. But don't expect the same level of performance in BFM situations as compared to, say, the F-15C. Unlike the backseat of an F-14 for the Rio, however, the Wizzo in the F-15E is able to fly the plane, and I can see that being an interesting feature for some virtual squadrons, especially for training and demonstration purposes. Sure, there are dedicated trainers out there, but not nearly as powerful or sophisticated as the F-15E, and this could be of use, I suspect. Continuing with the Razbam theme, I am aware that we are not far away from a release of the South Atlantic map. You've been enjoying teasers of the map via WAGs and also Growling Sidewinder more recently, showcasing aspects of that map while illustrating other features of aircraft in development, such as the F-16 and the Apache, and obviously the F-15E. I don't know for sure, nor could I reveal a specific date on that map, but it's not far away, and I think the team have done a tremendous job, so keep tuning in for an official announcement from Razbam. I think this brings us to the end of another DCS Situation Report. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and if you enjoyed today's content or have an opinion, put a comment in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel further, feel free to use the super thanks. Either way, I appreciate all the support, the discussion, and discourse on the channel, and we'll see you next time on the DCS Situation Report.